I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, August the 6th, brought to you in part by Zactran. Stress opens a gate to bovine respiratory disease. Slam it shut with Zactran. Remember to observe your 35-day withdrawal period after treatment. For more information, go to Zactran.com or visit with a BI rep. More transparency. That's a good thing. We've been looking for that. Stuff is starting to happen, and I hope it's like a bunch of dominoes falling, but we're starting to get more stuff coming about every week, and so this is part of it. And this all goes back to that executive order that Biden had here a few weeks ago. And beginning on Monday, here the 9th, we're going to see some more reports come from USDA Market News. You guys know that I worked for them for 18 years or so, but it's going to come through LMR, or mandatory price reporting. It's information that they've always had, they just haven't been able to put it out. But now we've got this executive order, and we're going to be putting out more information and more transparency. Going to get two new reports. One of them is going to be the National Daily Direct Formula Base. So that's going to report your formula base price every day on a daily basis. Now the problem is it's going to be a national report, so it's going to be kind of hard to pinpoint it, but it's going to give more information than what we've had. But the better report is going to be a weekly report. It's a national weekly net price distribution report for cattle. Now that is going to be a good one. That is going to be national and regional, because they're hoping there's enough volume there to keep the confidentiality up. But it's going to give the price and volume for each purchase method for the previous week, but it's going to break that price, and it's going to be segregated in $2 increments, so it doesn't give everything away from individual packer. But it's going to be better information than what we've had before. They've been doing these kind of reports for hogs for many years, but we just haven't had it in the cattle. But it's going to be give guys a little bit more of an idea what some of these sweetheart deals are actually paying these guys. And you think, well, they'll just lie on there. Well, we do have a branch called ARC, Audit, Review, and Compliance. They go around every quarter to these big packers and check their books and check the reports and make sure that they're reporting that stuff right. But it's kind of a big deal here, guys. You know, like I said, the National Daily is not going to give us a whole lot more. We've been getting premiums and discounts, but there's so many of them, and it's such a big area that it's just a big widespread, and you can't really tell anything. But this is going to be a base price deal. But you should be able to go back the next week and go back and look and see what your negotiated price was, and see kind of, you know, how much we're missing out on. And it's likely to be quite a bit. But maybe it'll kind of give the few guys that sell negotiated cash a little bit more leverage, a little bit more try to ask more every week, you know, instead of just letting the market come to them, or just taking the market that your packers are ready to give. If they see that, you know, they were paying significantly more for cattle on some of these sweetheart deals. Now, this is not the library of sweetheart deals that we've been asking for. That's going to have to come with one of these bills that we're working for. And this is definitely not the mandate that calls for minimum negotiated cash. Now, I've been on some calls this week. Something's going to happen there too, guys. You know, a lot of you said, oh, we don't think that's ever going to happen, or you're saying that you don't feel like we should you know, get the government involved. Guys, the government's involved in everything. You know, we're in a losing battle here if we continue to try to raise cattle, you know, independent producers against a monopoly. We can't do it. That's one of the things the government's there for. It's supposed to protect us. It's supposed to give a level playing field for you know, a free market system. And so we're going to get something on that. And I've been asking for the last several months, that are hoping that we would get Chuck Grassley's camp and Deb Fisher's camp together, and I think that's kind of where it's going right now. Now, if they get together and agree on something, Of course, NCBA doesn't want to see anything change. So it's a lot of the directions having to come from a smaller trade association, U.S. Cattlemen's Association, but we're liking what we're hearing. That what the kind of the direction that they're going. It's not going to be anything drastic that's just going to upset the cattle or the whole apple cart, but it's going to be something that we can work with, and likely what we're hoping is it's going to be adjustable and that we can keep working with it without having to go back and have an act of Congress to do it. So things are happening, guys, and these two new reports that are coming out that's going to shed a little bit more light on this formula trade is help. It's going to help with market transparency, but not with price discovery. So don't get confused there. It's not going to help with price discovery because we're not going to get to see it. The great thing about negotiated cash, and you guys, you think maybe it's an antiquated deal, the great thing about negotiated cash is people know what the trade is while it's happening. You know, the reports are coming out, texts are going out. Everybody knows kind of what the bids are and what the asking prices are. You turn on ag radio and somebody comes on there and tells you that there was a little bit of trade at 122 in Texas. That kind of gives you an idea, you know, because the rest of the guys haven't traded. These sweetheart deals and these alternative marketing agreements, they are predicated on you promising all your cattle to one packer. That's the problem with that. So that's not a competitive thing. You know, everybody's saying that's the only way you can get more money for premium quality cattle. That's not the only way. They can give more for the good cattle if they want to. Most of them likely don't know what good cattle look like or what they're supposed to be, but they can give you more money for them. I'm going to tell you about that in just a minute when I start talking about our fat cattle prices this time. But you know, there's no law against that. So, anyways, look for those reports coming out here next week, and I'm going to be telling you about them and trying to decipher. Of course, next week I'm going to be going out to Mississippi, running around with my buddy Sam Blakeney, who's a Zoetis rep there, and we've got some talks to give, and we're going to be running around the state of Mississippi and doing some things. Really looking forward to that. I know we got a lot of Feeder Flash gang members all over the state of Mississippi, and we're going to be looking forward to that. Here this weekend, going to be going up to Dodge City to be there for the big specials at Dodge, and be there for the King of the Ring auctioneer contest. Going to be helping out with the judging of that. Going to get to play golf with a bunch of my good friends in the auctioneering and cattle marketing business, and then going to be going to the rodeo. Dodge City Days is going on, so probably going to have a good time there if I don't get mixed up with Jay Romine from Kentucky or Brian Little from Kansas. Those guys will lead you astray and likely make you help them tear the shithouse down, which sounds like a good idea till the next morning. But something else that's in the news is this infrastructure deal that's going on has got a ton of stuff in it. Some of the things it does have in it is it actually fixes what we've been asking for as far as our livestock truckers. You know that we've just been stuck with that 150-mile radius deal, and it's going to give exemptions to your livestock haulers that we badly needed, just for your livestock haulers, because we're hauling a live animal, you know, and you can't just pull over the side of the road like you can with a bunch of freight. But it's things that we've been addressing for at least 5 years. I want to give most of the credit to Steve Hilker from Cimarron, Kansas. Would like to see Steve up at Dodge City, but and he's sponsoring some of the events that are going on up there, but he's eat up with car racing, and there's always a big car race going on that weekend, so he's likely not going to be there. But got to give the credit to him. He's been the main one out front with the pokey stick that everybody else is getting behind. And but this infrastructure deal does include exemptions for livestock haulers that we need, and could really help get that behind us for the most part. Another bad thing that I had a guy send me is it also has hidden in there where they can tax you on miles driven, even in your passenger car, because we're all about taxes with this new administration, even though we're getting a lot of good stuff done too. That could be a kind of an expensive thing and make it hard on people that travel all the time like myself and most of you. And let's talk about your board on Thursday. Your August live cattle futures were down 147, took back a lot of what they've gained this week, 122.57. October down $1.40 at 127.57. You're going out from there on your back months of live cattle, down 52 to down $1.17. And you think, oh my gosh, that's terrible. We've been gaining ground all week and we saw this down. I tell you what, it didn't bother me to see that down because it wasn't as much as we gained this week, and it wasn't a limit down. This thing's been feeling real toppy here this week as we've been seeing those gains, and then we start hearing more and more about the COVID and all this stuff. And I was afraid whenever we did see it correct, it would be a major correction and a lock the limit down type of a deal, even on those big daily limits. But it's just down, you know, moderately, and you think, hell, you know, that used to be the limit not that long ago. But still, as the way things are, we were bound to see a little correction this week, and this was it, and it wasn't any worse than what it was. So you know, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. August feeder cattle down $1.55 at 157.65. September down $1.72 on the feeder cattle, 161.15. That still looks awfully good out there, doesn't it, for an 800-pound steer in September? 161.15 commodity type. Get on your back months of your feeder cattle, and it was down $1.07 to down $1.77. And a lot of it had to do with your corn. You know, corn's been kind of easing off this week, and then on Thursday, your new crop December corn was up 6 1/4 cents and settled at 5.53. Your fat cattle trade continued on. It wasn't nearly as big as what we saw on Wednesday, but some more trade, and some of it a little bit higher in the northern plains. Iowa had 3,400 head confirmed on Thursday, 22,500 head for the week, 124 to 126, which is really a buck better than we saw in Iowa the previous day. Your dress sales 196 to 199, and that was a little stronger too. Nebraska 2,100 head confirmed on Thursday, 26,100 head for the week. $125 was the only live price, 198 was the only dress price. Kansas about 1,300, 10,000 for the week. 121 was the only price. That was steady with what they did on Wednesday. Texas 600 head on Thursday, 6,100 for the week, and only 121. Consolidated beef producer sellers, not on the cash pool, but the ones that are members that sell their cattle through Consolidated Beef Producers, are the only ones that I know that got the 122. It wasn't out there for very long, and Kansas never saw the 122, but wouldn't necessarily call that lower in Texas just because we had some independent selling at 121. That's still a buck better than last week. Box beef cutout values higher again. Choice cuts, or I want to tell you guys before I start talking about that, there's places that they sell fat cattle higher. And you think, well, you know, they sell that direct market, that's the market. We've got some sales, fat cattle auctions, and I normally talk about Stockman's in Yankton or Sioux Falls Regional in Worthing, South Dakota, or maybe Dunlap, Iowa, or somewhere like that. But there's other places, and these packers need cattle, and they need them coast to coast. A market that I reported for 3 years or so when I was starting my career in New Holland, Pennsylvania. That's Lancaster County, Pennsylvania Dutch area up there. They've got active fat cattle auction markets, and they've got packing plants out there that really like that top quality slaughter cattle, and they're the best ones. They come out of Virginia and they feed them hard and long. But high choice and prime fat cattle in New Holland, Pennsylvania on Thursday sold from 126 to 133 in the ring. Some higher dressing cattle or drug-free type cattle up to 136.50. Talked to a Feeder Flash gang member that auctioneers some smaller fat cattle auctions up in the upper Midwest there, and he told me he was selling cattle in a Wisconsin fat cattle market. He was selling the big Holsteins, like the 1,600-pound Holstein steers hard fed, from 121.5 to 122. Can't hardly get that for good cattle in the commercial feedlots, guys. So I want to share that information with you too. Box beef cutout values. Choice cuts up $3.24 at $290.258. Selects up $262 at $273.77. Your slaughter is doing pretty well for the week, 480,000 through Thursday, hoping for a big Saturday. That was 3,000 more than last week, 16,000 more in the same week a year ago, but likely we didn't hit that 480 because I did hear that we had some disruptions in processing down here where I live at Amarillo, Tyson, and also over at Freona at the Excel plant. But and I don't know how much it cut down, but I did hear some rumblings out there that, and they weren't even sure if it was mechanical or people not showing up to work. But anyway, they didn't. I doubt they got quite as many harvested as what they thought. What else is going? I want to tell you guys about a program that's called Ag Defense Risk Management, and they're sponsoring on here on the Feeder Flash. These are the guys that can help you with the LRPs, with the livestock risk protection that's partially funded with the government money there. And that is the deal, especially if you're a smaller producer or you've got uneven lots of cattle, you don't have square loads of them, or even if you're a big producer and you've got tons of cattle everywhere. It is a way to establish a floor price and leave your top side open, and without any upfront costs and without any margin calls. And that's what everybody's looking for. I know you guys have heard about the LRP, the livestock risk protection there, but you're not really sure how to do it. Here's some people that can help you out with it. They're located in western Oklahoma, but they can help you wherever you're at. They can lead you through it, and they even send out an update twice a week that tells you what price you can lock in on different weights and classes of cattle and what that will cost you, per hundredweight. But it's a good deal. You can find out more information on it by going to agdefenserm.com. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DV auction late in the day on Thursday is sitting at 154.85. That was down 11 cents, but not too bad. Your markets were a little bit uneven compared to a week ago, but you remember a week ago they were pretty darn good, and they were pretty darn good again this week, late in the week. But you know that you got to have a limit somewhere. Of course, some of them didn't have a limit. I'm going to tell you about those at the tail end. But they had the Hall of Fame special at Winter Livestock in Pratt, Kansas on Thursday, about 5,800 head there. And they put out a market report from, Kansas USDA Market News, but they do such a poor job with it. You read the trend on the market report that's released by the government. It was so confusing. It called your lighter weight feeders higher and your heavier weight over 800-pound feeder steers lower, and then but in your lighter heifers lower and your heavier heifers higher, which I'm not stupid. That's wrong. It's just absolutely wrong. And they get these fools in here reporting the market, don't know what they're doing, and they have no training, which is the worst part, because USDA is too scared to send people out, in the COVID-infested world to do some training. I pulled your automated market report from Pratt Livestock, and you look at it right there, and you see where your best tested weights are. And when you see the type of volume you see in your bigger feeder steers, look, they had 1,763 head of 8-weight steers there that averaged 845 with a weighted average price of 155.86. That was about $2 higher than last week. 1,900 head of 9-weight steers averaged 923, all of them with a weighted average price of 154.71. So when you have over 1,500 head and two different 100-pound weight breaks on your big feeder steers, and they're 2 to 2.5 higher, guess what? Your market was 2 to 2.5 higher. I understand you can't go by that whenever you've got spotty volume, but when you've got that many cattle running in a small range of weight there, and they bring that kind of money, and you compare it against a week ago, you can hang your hat on it, guys. And that's just ridiculous that they got people that they're paying to come in there and do a job, and they don't know how to do it. How about Farmers and Ranchers Livestock, Salina, Kansas, 4,100 head up there. They called the feeders kind of uneven, and I believe that. El Dorado, Kansas there. El Dorado livestock at 3,700. You know, I was telling you last week that they're kind of spotty and seasonal there. Well, they're in their big season right now. 3,700 head for that sale, and it's not a high volume sale, it's just spotty, but they're making hay while the sun shines. You can look at that market report there and see that the prices were kind of uneven, but still hanging right in there with what they did last week. How about Mitchell, South Dakota? 3,800 head there. Market was sure higher, including 93 head, 615 pound steers at 184.75. But then you go out in the sand hills of Nebraska and you get to one of those high volume top quality sales and it just blows everybody out of the water. Valentine Livestock, Valentine, Nebraska up there, just north of the res. They're just in a whole different stratosphere. How about the Gale cattle up there? These are not program cattle, just really good cattle, as good as they have anywhere in the world, with some condition to them and a fair weigh up and flesh condition. But 212 head of home raised steers, weighed 783 pounds and bring 179.85. That's your feeder flash for Friday.